Hey YouTube, this is Dan making another vid. If you like my content, please consider hitting like button. Also, please consider subscribing, as it is very much appreciated. Okay, haven't done one of these for a little while, and anyone who's watched my channel for a while knows I love these things. Needles, very underrated in our kits for bushcrafting. I, as you can see, buy a few needles, mainly for leather work, but you can do so many things with needles, especially once you jump up into the larger sail needle. And I got onto this type, the Basic Home Handy Needle Set. I get them on eBay and they're cheap. They're about $6, $5, $4, depending on where you get them. Mostly in country, but you can buy them from China too. But I tend to get them from in country. They range between $4 and $6 a set. So I usually buy 4 or 5 sets of them, and then I buy these needle cases. Some are plastic, some are glass, depending on what you want. I don't really have a preference. And then divide them up into my kits. And as you can see, they come, so you get a glover's needle, carpet needle, sail needle, straight upholstery needle, the sack needle, which is a bent, flared out bent tip, and then the curved mattress needle. Now the curved needles are probably that and the sail needle, or the glover's needle, are probably the two of the most useful ones, but I do like this straight upholstery needle as well. I also get onto these ones. I only just got this today, but I found them scrolling through. Now these are blunt nose, large eye needles. So I love these ones with the fact that they've got a big eye and they're still sharp enough to go through things. So you use an awl, put a hole in things, and then put your blunt nose things. But this big eye is lending you to put a significant thread through it. So you get the nano cord or whatever, you can stitch it with quite a significant bit of cordage through it. Very good. Wasn't very expensive. You'll find you can get a pack like that. Some sticky stuff stuck to me. You can get a pack like that for about $5 and they're all different lengths. Just notice how they're all different. So you get short ones and long ones. So the longest ones have the biggest eyes, but they're also quite long, and then the short ones as well. Came in its own little needle case. Excellent. Also find, now I go in Viceroy, which is an old time where I get all my Ted Cash stuff from. He sells this. Now they are an expensive needle. They're like $12 each. But that's a heavy duty 6-inch. Yep, 15 centimeter 6-inch heavy duty needle. But it's got that triangular tip, large eye, heavy duty needle. Very good. Too expensive to buy too many. I've only got one, but I had to get it because you don't see many of those around. Once I bought that, I found that I put into eBay long needles, and I got onto this one. This is 6-inch, but it hasn't got the truncated or the triangular tip, but it's always pretty close to being the same. I also have these ones. I did have some 10-inch. So these are only 6-inch. I mustn't have bought any out. I did buy. You can get up to 12-inch needles. They're for knitting. Stainless steel, 12-inch needles, but they do start to get expensive. You can get 10-inch, 12-inch, 8-inch, 6-inch. I think 6 is about the largest you'd want to go. I don't know. Depends on what you want to do. I think I got one 10-inch. But I think 6 is about as big as I ever want because they fit in my kits pretty easily. But I've got those two in a kit with a couple of needles in there and that. But these are all my curved ones because I've got all those. Those are my spares at the moment. I've got these. I'm going to add a couple of these heavier duty ones in there as well. That goes in a kit. All of them are all my spares at the moment. Just wanted to put that out there for you. They're not just for sewing up cloth or anything like that. Once you get into these heavy duty ones, especially the sail needles or these blunt nose ones, or the thicker, I found the straight upholstery needle, that one there. So it would be this one. Perfect for leather work. Perfect. They're heavy duty, they're thick enough to go through just about any type of leather, but they've got a big enough eye that you can thread in the normal thread for leather work. So you normally use sail needles for leather work, but I use a sack needle or the Glover's needle, which is, I think, that one. Yeah. Pretty sure that's a Glover's needle. Yep, that's the one there. No, it's a sail needle. The Glover's needle is the short, thick one. Yeah, that one there. Often use the Glover's needle when I'm doing leather work because it's short, thick, strong enough to go through just about any leather. Doesn't matter how thick they are. You just use your multi-tool if you have to drive it through. Once you use your awl and put it in anyway, it's pretty easy to get it through. We all know what the curved needles are for. For stitching things up. But they if it comes down to it, you've got them there. You put them in kits as well. But yeah, just have a look through eBay. They have plenty of options open. You can, once you get into the bigger ones, you do start paying a bit of money for them. That's the only thing. The bigger ones, usually two of them are about $10. That's not too bad, considering how big they are. And I have seen people make them, the forging of needles. And I was thinking of getting some thin stainless steel and forging one just to see if I can. But stainless steel is very difficult to forge because, for one, you can't harden it. It's not hardenable per se. You have to work hard on it, and you can't just dip it and harden it. The eye would be fairly problematic, whereas I can just buy them for so cheap a money. I don't know. I don't know. But I might make a heavy duty one, like a extra heavy duty. Well, that probably be out of 3 mil. I'll see how I go. See what happens. I might just tickle my fancy one day and just say, yeah, today's the day that I'm going to stretch myself and do it. But anyway, yeah, just a bit of a discussion. As I said, have a look on eBay or your preferred selling site and put in 10-inch needle, heavy-duty needles or whatever. These ones here, this is a perfect assortment of our needles. They give you a good range and they are not expensive, like $3, $4, $5 for all those sort of needles. You put one of them in your kit, you are basically covered. And then you buy a 6-inch needle, it might cost you $5. So for $10, you have every sort of needle that you're ever going to do in your kits. And then you can do leather work, you can stitch up your kits, your clothes, all sorts of things, and your curved needles are for suturing, obviously, and whatnot. And curved needles are also very good for stitching clothes and that too. So yeah, they call them a curved mattress needle. They obviously use them for mattress stitching. But I saw I think it was Kyle Cracker did a thing on sail needles, and he always advocated carrying a sail needle, and that's what got me onto him. But I actually don't necessarily like the sail needle per se. I much prefer the more heavy duty upholstery needle or the Glover's needles personally. But that's being said, I think the 6-inch heavy duty 6-inch, if I had to pick just one needle that I was going to have, that'd be the one I'd have, other than the curved needle. Between the two of those, I can pretty much do just about anything I ever wanted to do, because that is basically an awl as well, and it's long enough that I could use it as an awl as well, and it's thick enough to be heavy duty enough to function for so many different things. So yeah, but yeah, as I said, just have a look on eBay, have a bit of a squeeze around. I'm constantly looking, not just for the other, like for basic things, but you got to sort of think outside the box a little bit. The haberdashery stuff, not necessarily if you go into a haberdashery store itself, you'll start. And my missus got me onto a lot of this stuff too. So she and I never knew a lot of this stuff existed until I started talking to her about it, and then that opened my mind up. But these I only just saw these the other day, and now looking at them, I'm glad I got them. The eyes alone, the large eyes, you could put. I could thread that thread through there, and that's some thick thread. You'd be able to get that thread through there if I worked it hard enough. Once you get it through, you can pull it through it. There you go. So you're really starting to get some thick thread through there, That's that micro thread. So so you're really starting to stitch some thread up there then. And obviously this is the best way to store these long ones. You won't be poking things through anyway. So yeah, just, I buy the corks from the $2 shop and just go from there, and then store them. That's the best way. You don't ever get jabbed as well. Anyway, discussion on needles. Yeah, I love them. I reckon they're fantastic idea. Put them in every kit. I usually put a whole one of them in a kit, and then that pretty much covers me. And then a 6-inch, as I said. Anyway, thanks for watching.